It started with a smell. Not perfume, not sweat, not something obvious like lipstick on a collar. It was the air in our bedroom, different, charged, like static before a thunderstorm. I walked in one night after a long shift at the shop, and I stood there, just inside the doorway, sniffing the air like a damn bloodhound. Something felt used, like someone else had been in the bed. Not recently, but recently enough. Ashley was brushing her hair in the mirror, humming. She never hummed. She saw me in the reflection and smiled, that bright, almost too white smile that had sold 1,000 lies I hadn't caught. "You look tired," she said, without turning. And I watched her, really watched her. The way her fingers moved too quickly through her hair. The way she glanced at the doorframe behind me instead of my eyes. I said nothing, just went into the bathroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the tub staring at the tiled floor. There was a strand of hair on the sink. Not hers. Too short. Curly. I plucked it up and held it between my fingers like evidence in some trial no one else would ever witness. The next day I didn't go to work. Called in sick. I wasn't sick. Not in the body anyway. I drove around the city, drinking terrible gas station coffee and thinking. Not thinking like a victim, though. Thinking like someone who's about to solve something. Something ugly. I picked up her phone that night while she was in the shower. Locked. Changed her passcode. The last time I'd seen her unlock it, she did it in one smooth motion. I replayed it in my mind. Her thumb landed closer to the center. A circle? No. Cross pattern. I tried one. Failed. Tried again. Failed. I gave up when the water shut off. But then came the receipt. It wasn't even hidden. I was emptying the trash because she had to run to the store. And there it was. Folded. Not torn. Not stuffed deep under banana peels or old pasta wrappers. Just resting there like it wanted to be found. Like it had been left there. Hotel Amara. Room 413. Friday to Saturday. One night. 2 guests. A bottle of Prosecco and a romantic package. My name was nowhere on it. She got home while I was still holding it. I didn't hide it. I didn't tuck it in my pocket or burn it like some sad, dramatic husband from a soap opera. I laid it on the kitchen counter like an offering. When she walked in, she didn't even flinch. She looked at the receipt, looked at me, tilted her head like a bird trying to solve a puzzle. "Where'd you get that?" was the first thing she said. Not "what is that?" Not "oh my God." Not "I can explain." Just a flat, cold "where?" I didn't answer. I just stared at her, waiting. Something about the way she stood there, casually peeling off her jacket, unbothered by the storm rising in the room, it set something off in me. "Did you really think I wouldn't discover the truth?" I said it quieter than I intended. My throat was dry, but the words hit the room like a bell. She blinked. Once. Then her lips twisted into something that might have been a smile if it didn't look so cruel. "What truth, Mark? That I needed a break? That I got sick of being invisible? That while you were out playing handyman, I remembered what it feels like to be seen? I didn't expect that. I expected panic. Lies. Tears. Not this cold confession wrapped in sarcasm and venom. I moved toward her, not to touch her, just to close the space. "Who is he?" I asked. She raised a brow. "Does it matter?" Everything in me screamed yes. Screamed names. Faces. Scenarios. But I didn't answer. I just stepped back. "Wow," she said, laughing now, dry and bitter. "You're mad. That's rich. Coming from a man who's never home. Who talks more to his customers than to his own wife. You told me you were visiting your mother. And you believed it. That's on you. That broke something in me. Not my love for her. That had been bleeding out for months, maybe years. What broke was the illusion. The idea that I knew this woman. That she had a heart I could reach. That anything we built was real. "You're not even sorry," I said. She walked past me like I was a lamp or a chair. Something to be maneuvered around. Not spoken to. "You want tears? Regret? That's not going to happen," she said, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge. "If you're looking for some dramatic apology, you're wasting your time." I didn't speak. I walked out, got in my truck, drove to the edge of the city and parked near the old train yard. Just sat there for hours with the windows down, listening to the wind, wondering how much of my life had been a lie. I didn't go home that night. I slept in the truck, or tried to. Mostly I just stared out the windshield, watching the shadows crawl across the dashboard as trains groaned and creaked in the distance. The cold didn't bother me. I welcomed it, kept me alert, kept me from slipping into any dreams that might still paint her as the woman I thought she was. By morning, I wasn't tired. I was ready. Something had shifted during the night. I wasn't going to be the clueless husband waiting for another lie. I wanted to know everything. Every name, every place, every goddamn second of this betrayal. Not because it would change anything, but because I wanted clarity. If you're going to burn something down, you better know the shape of what you're destroying. So I started where it hurt. His name was on the receipt, Liam R. A quick Google search gave me a last name. Liam Rhodes. Sounded familiar. I kept digging. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I froze when I saw his face. I knew him. Not well, but enough. We'd had beers. He'd come to our barbecues. Watched playoff games on my couch. He was that friend of a friend who always hovered a little too long around Ashley at parties. The guy who complimented her too often, laughed too hard at her jokes. I remembered once joking, "You trying to steal my wife, Rhodes?" And he had smiled and said, "She's too high maintenance for me." That smug prick. I scrolled through his Instagram. Photos of gym selfies, his stupid motorcycle, captions like "hustle every day" and "real recognize real." I clicked on one picture from a rooftop bar. I almost missed it. But there, behind him, barely visible in the mirror of his sunglasses, my wife, her hand on his arm, laughing. My throat closed up. I stared at that reflection like it was a crime scene photo. I screenshotted it, saved it. Then something in me went colder than the night before. I needed more, so I called her sister, Megan. We'd never been close, but she always had that look in her eyes when she watched Ashley, like she knew something, like she was waiting for the truth to rot its way to the surface. "Megan," I said as soon as she answered. "I know about Liam." Silence. Then softly, "Mark, I didn't want to get involved. You are now." A pause. Then a sigh. "It's been going on for months. Since before Christmas." I told her it was wrong. She said you didn't make her feel wanted anymore. That you were always tired, busy, boring. But it wasn't just Liam. There were others, Mark. I sat down. "What do you mean, others?" "She's not who you think she is. You saw the surface. You were safe, reliable. She doesn't want that. She wants attention, drama, excitement, and she's good at lying. Real good." I couldn't breathe for a second. Not rage, not pain. Just disbelief that one person could keep so many masks in rotation and never drop one in front of me. Megan's voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I should have told you. But she's my sister." I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just sat there, holding my phone like it had turned to lead. I drove home around noon. She was on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling like nothing had happened. I walked in, stood across from her. She looked up, raised an eyebrow. "You going to say something?" I tossed my phone onto the coffee table. The screenshot stared up at her like a mirror held to her soul. Her smirk faltered for the first time. "I talked to Megan," I said. "I know everything." That got her. Her shoulders tensed. She straightened, eyes sharpening like a blade drawn from a sheath. "So what?" she snapped. "You gonna cry now? Throw me out? Be the wounded little man?" I didn't move. I didn't blink. "How many were there?" She stood up, stepped close. "Enough," she whispered. "Enough to know I don't want this anymore." There it was. The end. Delivered without mercy, without apology. "Then why stay?" I asked. She laughed. "Because it was easy. Because I didn't think you'd ever do anything." That was the last thing she said before walking past me, brushing her shoulder against mine with deliberate force. Like this was her victory. Like she was proud of it. And maybe she was. But the story's not over. Not yet. I didn't speak to her for 2 days. We lived in the same house, moved through the same rooms, ate from the same fridge, but we were ghosts to each other. She didn't try to explain anything further. She didn't apologize. She didn't even ask where I'd been. She was calm. Too calm. Like someone waiting for a bus. Not a marriage to end. I was the opposite. Every time I passed her, I had to hold my jaw shut to keep from screaming. But I didn't give her that power. Not yet. I wanted her to wonder what I was planning. I wanted the silence to be a pressure in her skull, something she couldn't shake. Then came the real blow. On the third morning, I found out she hadn't just lied about Liam. She'd used me to cover for it. My business partner, Derek, called. Said someone from our accounts department flagged 2 suspicious charges on the company credit card. One was a restaurant in another state. The other, a boutique hotel in Malibu. My name was on both. I didn't make those charges, I said. I haven't even been to Malibu this year. Well, someone did, he replied. And the signatures match yours. You might want to take a look. He sent over the digital receipts. I opened the file, stared at it. There it was, a scribbled version of my name on the bill. Room service, wine, a massage. Charges from 2 months ago. The same weekend Ashley had claimed she was volunteering at a wellness retreat. And it hit me like a freight train. She'd taken my business card, forged my signature, lived it up with another man under my name, then handed me the bill, literally and metaphorically. I called her into the living room. She walked in like it was nothing, like she was coming to check the weather. Did you use my business card? I asked. She stared at me, smirked. You're gonna have to be more specific. I didn't flinch. I opened the laptop, showed her the receipts. Her face didn't change. You really want to do this now? She said. I want the truth. She laughed. A sharp, humorless thing. You can't handle the truth. You want a confession? Fine. Yes. I used your card. You left it on the desk. It wasn't locked up. Figured, why not? You never take me anywhere nice anymore. And guess what? He did. She said it like it was a joke. Like she was telling me I'd forgotten to take out the trash. You committed fraud. No, you forgot to cancel your card. Not my fault if you're too trusting. I stood up, heart pounding. You don't even feel guilty? About what? She stepped closer, eyes blazing. About finally living? About not drowning in this boring, dead routine you call a life. I gave you everything, I said. Everything I had. And it wasn't enough, she snapped. You thought being loyal was the same as being good. It's not. You were safe. Predictable. But you never saw me. That hit different. Because it was a lie that almost sounded like truth. She turned her back and started walking away again. I'm pressing charges, I said. She stopped. Slowly turned. No, you won't, she said. Because if you do, I'll tell everyone what you've been hiding. I stared at her. I'm not hiding anything. She smiled, cruel and slow. Exactly. And they'll still believe me. It was a threat. A masterstroke. She didn't need evidence. She just needed doubt. And she knew it. She thought she'd won. Again. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly understand, is that I'd already started planning something of my own. She wanted a game? She was about to learn I don't play by her rules anymore. I didn't go back to work that week. I told Derek I needed time off for personal reasons, which wasn't even a lie anymore. My house felt like a crime scene and Ashley was the calmest criminal I'd ever seen. She still made coffee in the morning, still did yoga in the living room, still left the house wearing that smug, polished look on her face like she was untouchable. But I saw it now. Every movement, every word, all of it was performance. She wasn't calm. She was confident I wouldn't fight back. That's where she miscalculated. I started with the finances. Quietly, methodically. Every joint account, we had 3. I began transferring my portion out, leaving just enough to not raise alarms. I canceled every automatic payment that had my name on it. Disentangled myself from the web she'd spun over the years. Insurance, subscriptions, utilities, shared cloud storage, everything. I even changed the locks on my storage unit where I kept all my personal records. She wouldn't see it coming, because she thought I was still hurt. I was past hurt. I was in something else, something colder. And then I reached out to the one person she wouldn't expect. Jared. Jared was Liam Rhodes' cousin. He worked construction with me back in the day before moving out of state. Solid guy. We hadn't spoken in over a year, but I remembered him being close with Liam, and I figured, maybe blood doesn't run thicker than betrayal. I called him. Small talk at first. Caught up. Asked about his mom, his dog, his busted knee. Then I dropped the name. Liam. Long pause. What about him? He's been seeing my wife. Another pause. Then wow. That piece of. Yeah. I cut in. And I need to know something. Anything. Dirt. Skeletons. Anything I can use. Jared hesitated. You sure you want to open that door? It's already open. He let out a breath. All right, man. You didn't hear this from me? But he's been recording stuff. Like secretly. Women. He brags about it when he's drunk. Says it's insurance in case anyone talks. My stomach twisted. You saying he taped Ashley? I don't know. Maybe. Wouldn't surprise me. He keeps all that crap on a hard drive at his place. I thanked him. Hung up. Sat in silence. That changed everything. I had her on fraud. Now there was a chance he had her on tape. Illegally. Which meant leverage. Real leverage. So I went to him. Not with rage. Not fists. Not yelling. I didn't tell Ashley. I waited until I knew she had a late shift at the store. Inventory audit. My ass. And drove across town to Liam's high-rise apartment. The kind of place that screams insecurity with every granite countertop. He opened the door shirtless. Grinning. Until he saw me. His smile faltered. Just a twitch. Mark. Wow. Didn't expect. Invite me in. I said. He blinked. Why would I? Do it. Now. Maybe it was something in my voice, or maybe he remembered I'm twice his size and no longer bound by politeness. Either way, he stepped back. I walked in. Looked around. Nice place. Too clean. Staged. I bet he practiced what he'd say to women here. Rehearsed lines. Rehearsed charm. You got a hard drive, I said. With recordings. His jaw tensed. Don't know what you're talking about. I stepped closer. You ever think what would happen if those files got out? Or worse, if they got traced back to you? Illegal surveillance. Liam. Women you didn't have consent from. You think the cops won't take that seriously? He folded his arms. Even if I had something, you wouldn't be able to prove where it came from. I smiled. You think this is about proof? This is about leverage. I don't want the footage. I want you to back off. He sneered. She's not your wife anymore, man. That did it. I grabbed his phone off the counter before he could react. Scrolled. No passcode. Amateur. I opened his photos. There she was. Ashley. In bed. In the mirror. In his arms. Dozens of pictures. Some posed, some candid. I swear, he started. Relax, I said. I don't care about the pictures. I care that you're stupid enough to leave this out in the open. I sent the photos to myself. Then I put his phone down slowly, calmly. You're going to disappear from her life. Block her. Ghost her. Make up a reason if you have to. Because if I find out you so much as like one of her Instagram stories again, I'll leak this whole gallery with your name attached. And let's be real. No one's going to sympathize with a creep who records women without their knowledge. He didn't speak. Just stood there, seething. I turned to leave. At the door, I paused. Oh, and one more thing. Tell Ashley, I'm just getting started. I walked out into the sun, and for the first time in weeks, I could breathe. When I got home, she was already there. Ashley was in the kitchen, wearing that smug little robe she always put on after her so-called late shifts. A glass of wine in one hand, her phone in the other, legs crossed at the counter like she was queen of the damn world. But this time, something was different. There was a flicker, just a flicker, of unease in her eyes when she looked up at me. She could tell I'd been somewhere. Done something. Out late, she said, sipping. Were you with your little girlfriend? Or are we doing the mysterious Avenger act now? I ignored her, walked past her into the living room, sat down, took out my phone, sent a message. She watched me. I could feel her gaze like heat on my skin. Then her phone buzzed. She picked it up. Read the message. Paused. Read it again. I saw it happen. Her face didn't fall. It tightened. Just slightly. Jaw clenching. Eyes narrowing. What the hell is this? She asked, voice suddenly sharper. I didn't answer. Another buzz. Another message. This time a photo. Liam. In bed. Her legs wrapped around him. Smiling like an idiot. The caption I'd added. Your king just abdicated. She spun on her heel and stalked toward me. What did you do? I met her eyes. I had a conversation. You're no longer his little secret. Her face twitched. Not rage. Not panic. It was fear, just a flash of it. She dropped her wine glass. On purpose. let it shatter on the floor like it was some kind of dramatic punctuation. Then she stormed to the hallway and came back with her purse and coat. "I'm not staying here with you playing goddamn mind games," she snapped. "You were never staying," I said. "You just didn't know it yet." She looked at me, waiting for me to say it. Beg her to stay. Plead. But I didn't move. I didn't blink. I didn't give her a single thread to pull. She scoffed, opened the door, then paused. "You know, I could ruin you," she said quietly. "I could tell people you hit me, that you stalked me. You think they wouldn't believe me? You think your job, your reputation, your business would survive me?" I stood slowly, walked toward her, calm and deliberate. "You want to play that game?" I asked. She tilted her chin defiantly. "Go ahead. Spread whatever story you want. Just know this, everything I've done so far, that was restraint. You want to see what it looks like when I stop holding back." For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She walked out, didn't slam the door, didn't look back, just vanished into the night, like she'd finally realized the mask had slipped, and there was nothing underneath it but ashes. I didn't follow. I turned, picked up the broken glass she left behind, and tossed it in the trash. She wasn't done yet. I knew that. People like her never go quietly. But she was losing control, and I was building something stronger than revenge. I was building my way out. The house felt cleaner without her. Not just physically, though the absence of her wine bottles and makeup trails across the bathroom counter helped, but spiritually, like someone had lifted a heavy tarp off my chest and let the air back in. I walked through each room in silence that first morning after she left. Not mourning, not pacing, just taking inventory of what was still mine, of what she'd touched. I started packing her things. Not angrily, not carelessly. I packed with surgical precision. Labeled boxes, folded clothes, set aside jewelry, shoes, letters. Anything personal. Not because I was sentimental, because I didn't want a single excuse for her to return. Halfway through her closet, I found something. A small black box tucked behind a stack of scarves. Inside, photos, Polaroids, dozens of them. Some of her alone. Some with men I didn't recognize. Intimate. Some at clubs, laughing with people she'd told me she didn't even like. A picture of her sitting on the hood of my truck with someone else's jacket draped around her shoulders. And tucked into the bottom, folded twice into a square, a letter. Handwritten. Not from me. From him. Not Liam. A different guy. One I'd never heard her mention. The letter was flowery. Over-the-top romantic. The kind of words that would have made her roll her eyes if they came from me. "I wish you'd just leave him," he wrote. "I don't care what he's done for you. You don't love him. You never did. And he doesn't see the real you. I do. I've always seen you." She'd kept it. Hidden it. It was dated a year and a half ago. My stomach dropped. That was during our anniversary trip. When she told me she was sick, holed up in the hotel with a stomach bug, while I spent the day alone hiking through Sedona. All lies. I stared at the photos, the letter. The ink faded slightly, but the intent screaming through the lines. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't even just Liam. This was a pattern. A structure. A system of deceit. Ashley didn't cheat because she was bored or unhappy. She cheated because it was who she was. She needed it. Needed the manipulation. The thrill. The power. I wasn't a husband to her, I was a stage prop. I boxed everything. Every last trace of her. I didn't call. Didn't text. Instead, I booked a courier. Paid extra for speed. Included a letter, 2 lines. "Your masks are in the box. Keep them. I don't need them anymore." Then I called a lawyer. I'd never been through a divorce. Never thought I would be. But the second I sat down in her office and explained the situation, I felt something strange. Relief. The lawyer. Her name was Karen Gentry. Didn't even blink when I told her Ashley had committed fraud, emotionally manipulated me, and had a history of multiple affairs. "She'll fight you," Karen said. "Women like her don't let go unless they're forced to." "I'm not giving her a choice." Karen leaned back, nodding slowly. "Then let's start making the walls close in." We drafted everything that day. Filed within 48 hours. Served her through a process server right at her work. I didn't get to see her face when she got the papers, but I got a text 3 hours later. "So this is how it's gonna be?" I didn't reply. Another text minutes later. You think you're winning? You're not. You'll regret this. Still nothing from me. She called 5 times. I didn't pick up. Sent 3 emails, each one shifting tone. From angry to nostalgic to downright manipulative. I still remember the cabin in Big Bear. You said you'd never stop loving me. I didn't even open the last one, because it was finally happening. She was slipping. Not just out of my life, but out of the power she'd built over it. And I had no intention of saving her. The first time I saw her after serving the papers, she didn't look like the Ashley I remembered. She came to the house unannounced, which wasn't surprising. She was never one to respect boundaries. But what was surprising was how rattled she looked. Her hair was done, sure. Makeup in place. But it didn't land right. Like a costume on the wrong actor. She stood on the porch with a takeout coffee in hand. Like it was some kind of peace offering. I didn't invite her in. She didn't wait for an invitation. I want to talk, she said, brushing past me into the foyer. Not about lawyers. About us. I closed the door. Locked it behind me. Not for safety, for finality. There is no us anymore. She turned, arms crossed, like she was trying to keep herself from shaking. You didn't have to humiliate me. At work? Really? You've been humiliating me for years, I said. I just finally gave you a mirror. That hit. I saw it in her eyes. A twitch. A crack. But she recovered. She always did. This doesn't have to be ugly, she said. We can do mediation. No fighting. No drama. I stepped closer. What do you want, Ashley? Really? She hesitated. Then, quietly, money. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Not a bitter laugh. Clean one. The kind that comes when you realize the mask is finally, truly off. You're unbelievable. She straightened. I gave you 8 years. I helped you build that business. You used that business to fund your motel rendezvous. Her eyes flashed. Watch it. No. You watch it. Because I'm done playing defense. She dropped the act then. The charm, the soft voice, the fake vulnerability. All of it evaporated in an instant. What stood in front of me wasn't a wife. It wasn't even an enemy. It was a stranger. You really think you're better than me now? She said, voice sharp. You think people won't wonder what you did wrong? Why your wife couldn't stand to stay faithful? I don't care what people think, because I have the truth. And you have nothing. She stormed past me toward the door, but then paused. You're going to be alone, Mark. And when the dust settles, you'll realize you needed me a lot more than I ever needed you. She left without another word. And I let her go. I didn't chase her, didn't watch her drive away. Instead, I walked to the den, opened the drawer where I kept a folder, one I'd started weeks ago. Inside, printouts of emails from Liam, bank statements from the fraud, Jared's signed witness statement, screenshots of her texts, photos from the hard drive, every piece of ammunition I needed, not to hurt her, but to protect myself from her next move. Because there would be one. I knew Ashley. She wasn't done. She wouldn't go quietly, not because she loved me, but because she hated losing. But I was ready now. And when she came at me again, this time, I'd be the one holding the pen and writing the ending. I got the email a week later. Short, cold, from her new attorney. Some boutique firm downtown with a pretentious name and a logo that looked more like a wine label than a law office. They were contesting the divorce. Of course they were. The email claimed Ashley was emotionally distressed, that the separation had been unilateral, and that she was entitled to spousal support due to her sacrifices made in support of her husband's career. They even hinted at seeking damages for emotional abuse. It would have been hilarious if it wasn't so calculated. I read it twice, then forwarded it to Karen, my lawyer. She replied within the hour. She's going scorched earth. Let's show her what that actually means. The next few days moved fast. Karen filed a motion to submit evidence early. A move Ashley clearly wasn't expecting. I gave her everything. The screenshots, the forged receipts, Jared's sworn affidavit, the security camera footage from the boutique hotel where Ashley used my business card footage. Jared helped me get through a connection at the hotel. Everything was lined up like dominoes. Precise. Indisputable. But it was the last piece that would kill her case entirely. See, Ashley had a habit of using aliases when she traveled. I found out from an old email thread buried deep in our shared inbox. A confirmation from a booking under the name Claire Halston. I ran it through the system, matched it with another hotel stay. Same dates, same room, different city, different guy. Karen smiled when I brought it in. This, she said, is how you kill a sympathy narrative. And then Ashley made a mistake. She showed up at my workplace, unannounced, midday, wearing a dress I'd seen her wear to Liam's cousin's engagement party last year. Tight, black, low cut, as if this was still a game of seduction. She walked in like she owned the floor, past the receptionist, straight into my office. I stood up, stunned but calm. "You don't return my calls," she said, feigning sweetness. "You're suing me. Only because you're forcing me to," she said, sitting without asking. "This is all unnecessary, Mark. I've been talking to people on your side. They're starting to wonder if you're okay." My blood ran cold. This was it. Her next move. She was trying to gaslight reality itself. She leaned forward. "You've been acting strange, obsessive. They're worried you're unraveling. And if this goes to court, I might have to mention that. You're threatening to fabricate mental instability? I'm saying people believe stories, not spreadsheets." I reached into my drawer, pulled out a small black USB drive, and slid it across the desk toward her. "What's this?" "Everything. All of it. Your letters, your fake names, your trips, your photos, the signed statements, the timelines, the credit card logs, the voicemail from your sister when she begged me to leave you. Take it." She stared at it, didn't touch it. "I'm not afraid of you," she said. "You should be," I replied, "because you built your world on lies. And I just bought the wrecking ball." For the first time, her eyes didn't just flash with anger. They wavered, like she couldn't quite remember the next line in the script. She stood abruptly, snatched the USB, walked to the door. Before she left, she turned to me. "You're not a good man, Mark. You just wear a better mask than I do." Then she was gone. But the room didn't feel empty, felt clean. Her threat didn't work. Her visit didn't shake me, because I wasn't playing defense anymore. I wasn't trying to save the marriage or win the moral high ground. I was just done. And she could feel it. 2 days later, the settlement offer came through. Ashley's attorney must have finally seen what she was dealing with. Someone who wasn't just prepared to fight, but ready to finish. The email was polite, diplomatic, almost apologetic in tone. A complete reversal. She wanted out. No alimony. No claims to the business. She'd waive her rights to joint property, even the house. All she asked for was her car, some furniture, and an even split of the bank account balances as of the original filing date. I stared at the screen for a long time. It was too clean, too fast, too easy. Karen read it over, tapped her pen on the desk. "She's not backing down out of guilt. She's hiding something." I nodded. "Then let's find it." That night, I went through our cloud backups, one of the only digital ties she hadn't unlinked when she stormed out. There wasn't much. Most of it had been scrubbed. But she missed one file. A video. Not from me. Not of me. It was Liam, in his apartment, talking to someone behind the camera, saying her name, saying things I can't even repeat, while degrading things about Ashley, how she liked being used, how she begged for things I didn't even want to imagine. He said he had her whole act on tape, and laughed about how she thought she was in control. My stomach turned. Not from jealousy, from disgust. Because whatever game she thought she was playing, whatever image she'd built of herself as the puppet master, she wasn't even the one holding the strings. She was just another toy to a man who collected women like weapons. And that's when it hit me. The settlement offer wasn't a peace flag. It was an attempt to bury this. She knew I had access to the files. She knew what I'd found. And she didn't want it coming out. Not because she cared about me, but because he had power over her now. And if she didn't disappear quietly, I'd show the world what Liam had said, what he'd recorded, what he really thought of her. She was cornered. Not by me, by her own reflection. Karen and I accepted the settlement the next morning. Signed. Finalized. We expedited the court approval. 3 weeks later, I was legally free. And yet, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like aftermath. I got a letter from her 2 days after the finalization. Handwritten. No return address. 5 pages. The first page was venom. Insults, accusations, denial. The second was justification. Childhood trauma, trust issues, the usual suspects. The third and fourth, apologies. Crocodile tears in ink. The final page? A confession. Not for cheating. Not for the fraud. But for never being in love. I saw you as a ladder, she wrote. Something to climb. Not someone to keep. And when I got to the top, I realized I never wanted what was up there. She thanked me for the stability, the patience, the life I gave her, then ended it with, "You didn't deserve what I did, but you also didn't stop it. Maybe that's your crime." I didn't respond. I burned the letter, and for the first time since this entire mess started, I slept. Deep, dreamless, because even though the scars would take time, and the trust might never come back the same, the storm was over. One part left. It's strange how quiet life gets after the chaos leaves. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that feels earned. Like the silence after a long war, when the last gunshot echoes into nothing, and you're left standing there, still breathing, not because you were the strongest, but because you refused to fall. The house changed after she was gone. I didn't repaint or renovate. I didn't throw out the furniture or scrub the walls. I left it all. The coffee rings on the counter. The tiny nick on the bedroom door from when we moved in. Not because I was clinging to the past, because I'd reclaimed it. Every inch of that house was mine again. But the biggest change wasn't physical. It was how I thought. I used to replay moments in my head. Fights, conversations, the little lies she told. I'd wonder what I missed, where I went wrong, if I could have fixed it. That mental loop ran for months. But now, it's silent. I don't care about the whys anymore. I know who she is, and I finally remember who I am. The business survived. Better, actually. Without the tension, I could focus again. I hired new staff, took on bigger clients. Derek and I expanded to a second location. Turns out betrayal sharpens you. Burns off the softness until what's left is sharper than before. As for love, I'm not rushing it. I talk to people. I laugh again. But I carry what happened with me, not as baggage but as armor. I don't need revenge. I already won. Ashley, I don't keep tabs. But Megan told me, in a message she sent a few weeks after the settlement, that Liam bailed, completely ghosted her, took what he wanted and vanished. Classic predator. Ashley tried to spin it, told people she left him. But the city is small and whispers travel fast. Her story unraveled within a month. The last thing Megan said was, "She's more alone than she's ever been. But she'll never admit it." Good. Because she doesn't deserve peace. Not yet. I've learned a few things through all this. Things I never wanted to learn, but needed to. Trust isn't given, it's earned. And once it's broken, you owe no one a second chance to shatter it. Love can make you blind, but betrayal? Betrayal will teach you to see. Not every apology is meant to be accepted. And not every villain deserves closure. If you're reading this because you're where I was, suspecting, doubting, gasping for truth, don't wait for the mask to fall. Rip it off yourself. Betrayal cuts deeper than any blade. I learned that the hard way. I never thought my wife would be unfaithful, but one forgotten receipt shattered everything. The man I once called a friend became the symbol of my torment. When I confronted her in our kitchen, fury collided with heartbreak. "Did you really think I wouldn't discover the truth?" I asked. Her stunned silence spoke volumes. Now, with vengeance behind me and clarity in front of me, I can finally say, I rose above it, and I'll never let someone like her pull me down again.